Hello, this is part 31 of our comparative Bible study on the beginning of Jesus Galilean Ministry. During this part, we would like to discuss, among other things, Jesus' comment that the priest profaned the Sabbath. Overall, this is our 71st New Testament Bible study. In recent Bible studies, we've been discussing what appears to be the same event recorded in three different locations in the Bible. There's an account in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and we've been comparing these accounts. In general, from previous Bible studies, we've concluded that the Pharisees are accusing Jesus' disciples of working by plucking ears of corn or grain heads on the Sabbath day. However, it appears, at least to me, that the disciples may have just been walking along plucking these grain heads off like somebody would pluck a grape, maybe rubbing them in their hands, wiping off the debris, and eating them as they go along the way. It certainly doesn't seem like they're engaged in a harvest, using a sickle or putting things up for the winter. It doesn't even seem to me like they're even really gathering other than just picking what they need and eating it on the spot. Maybe on one hand, what the disciples didn't strike them or many of us as being work, or at least it's a gray area. On the other hand, maybe the Pharisees, out of a weak conscience or a zeal, have placed additional restrictions on themselves. Doing this kind of thing is against their conscience, and maybe they shouldn't do it on the Sabbath day. That being said, would it be right for the Pharisees to put elevated expectations that they've placed on themselves on others? Now, the time period at which this occurred is certainly before Jesus died on the cross, and also obviously after the law of Moses had been given. God ultimately is in charge, and as I've mentioned before, I imagine the Israelites under the law probably put a lot of consideration into what it meant not to do any work on the Sabbath. Especially during our 69th New Testament Bible study, we asked the question of what was work. When does work become work? Is it based on effort expended? Now, in the New Testament, in Acts chapter 1, verse 12, it does mention a Sabbath day's journey. Is that based on distance? Based on the Old Testament references that we've made in the last couple of Bible studies, it might lead someone to ask the question if gathering a day's worth of manna or gathering sticks and going through the effort of lighting a fire is work, is effort less than that not work? Where would the line have been? Outside of Jesus, is it even possible to keep the law? Concerning that, we could ponder Acts chapter 15. There in the New Testament, concerning the conversion of the Gentiles, certain Pharisees said that they should be commanded to keep the law of Moses. The Apostle Peter, among other things, said, "Now therefore, why tempt ye God, to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ we shall be saved, even as they." So back to our current Bible study. In response to the Pharisees' accusation, the Lord Jesus, as recorded in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, challenged the Pharisees with an example concerning David doing something while he was hungry that was unlawful. Apparently, the unlawfulness of what David did was clear. We discussed these verses in the previous two Bible studies. Before we move on, please note how Jesus said, "Have ye not read?" Moving on to the next verses in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, you can see here that the Gospel of Matthew has a lot more additional information compared to the other two Gospels. In particular, Jesus provided an example of the priest profaning the Sabbath day. There we read, "Or have ye not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless?" Earlier in today's Bible study, we entertained the notion of what made work work and discussed it with respect to effort expended. Here it says that the priest in the temple profane the Sabbath. Now, what are some of the things that the priest may have been doing on the Sabbath day to profane it? In Numbers 28 and 29, we have a number of different sacrifices that are listed. For example, there was the continual burnt offering, which was 2 lambs being offered every day, one in the morning and one in the evening. Then on the Sabbath day, they were supposed to offer 2 additional lambs, and this burnt offering of every Sabbath was beside the continual burnt offering, which meant they were doing it in addition to the continual burnt offering. So, in addition to other ceremonial requirements, the priest had to slay, cut up 4 lambs, and then offer them up for a burnt offering. So it seems that that would have had to have taken a considerable amount of effort. So these priests would not have really been resting on the Sabbath day. Not to mention, there were other sacrifices that were required to be made on certain days of the month, and it seems that those sacrifices could have also fallen on a Sabbath day. For example, in the beginning of the month they had a sacrifice. What if the first of the month was on the Sabbath? Also, the Feast of Unleavened Bread lasted 7 days. Also, the Feast of Tabernacles was another multiple day feast. So any feast lasting 7 days or more would have had to have spanned at least one Sabbath. So it seems that those ceremonial duties would have also had to have been performed on a particular Sabbath, depending upon how those ceremonies landed. Also concerning circumcision, later in John chapter 7, Jesus would state, "If a man on the Sabbath day receive circumcision, that the law of Moses should not be broken, are ye angry at me, because I have made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath day? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment." So these are all ceremonies that would have required effort to have been done that could have happened on the Sabbath day. Please note how, in this current example where Jesus said that the priest profaned the Sabbath day, that he also here said, "Have ye not read?" just like we pointed out earlier when Jesus gave the example concerning David. In addition to these 2 instances, here are some other quotes from the Gospel of Matthew alone, where Jesus appears to be stressing the importance of knowing or reading the Scriptures. Because this had come up twice in our current Bible study, I thought it was worth noting. Concerning the Sabbath, I've also heard Isaiah 58 referenced with regard to activity on the Sabbath. In verses 13 and 14 we read, "If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it." Could this apply to Matthew 12? Concerning the priests who are serving in the temple, profaning the Sabbath day, it doesn't seem that they're seeking their own pleasure, but instead they're serving the Lord, honoring him. And Jesus said they're blameless. Now, concerning Jesus' disciples who were following him through the cornfields on the Sabbath day, aren't they also serving the Lord Jesus on the Sabbath day? And probably not seeking their own pleasure. Jesus next states in Matthew chapter 12, "But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple." Let's stop here for now. If I got to share anything good, it's a blessing from God. Maybe we'll have another Bible study in the future. Thank you. Goodbye.